A dramatic survival story from the rugged backcountry of British Columbia. The pilot and 2 passengers who were in a small plane that made an emergency landing on an ice field on Sunday were found alive. Rescue teams searched a rugged stretch of mountainous terrain after the single-engine plane was reported overdue. Turns out the 81-year-old pilot made a daring landing on a glacier after a downdraft kept the plane from climbing out of a narrow valley. A group of snowmobilers were the first to spot the plane on Sunday, and rescuers reached the party yesterday. Everyone alive, dehydrated, but no injuries. And joining us now from Surrey, British Columbia is Vern Hannah, the pilot who managed to stick that perfect landing on a glacier on Sunday. Vern, quite a story to tell. And I guess it all started as you were flying with your 2 passengers to Whistler, and you made a wrong turn. Describe that to us.
Well, yes, it was a right turn into Whistler, so I made a right turn into a valley, but I thought it was a Whistler, but it wasn't. It was a very bad valley, but I couldn't tell it was bad till I went around the corner. I flew in about a mile before I realized that it was a dead-end valley, but by then we were committed, so I had to open the throttle and go as hard as I could to try and out-climb the terrain, which didn't work.
So you're looking at mountainous terrain, you're also looking at a dead end in this valley, you're giving it absolute full thrust there, pulling the throttle all the way back, and you're not climbing. Tell us about that moment when you realized, I don't quite know how I'm going to get out of this.
That's exactly the way I felt. I could only fly the airplane as long as the airplane would fly, and I gave her full throttle, and I climbed over the first cliff, but I was right at stall speed. So then, just after I got over that cliff, there was a bit of a valley in front, so I tore down into that valley full throttle as hard as I could go because there's another cliff in front of me. And then I jumped up over that cliff too, but again I was right at stall speed because the downdraft was pushing me down, so I couldn't get as much speed as I would like to have. Then the next valley was not quite so steep, so I wasn't able to gain much speed, and the glacier was right in front of me. So all I could do was fly the airplane as much as it would fly and just keep it going. Possibly it would go over the glacier, but it gradually lost speed. Of course, we had that terrific downdraft too, holding me back, and so we just gradually settled down onto the glacier.
You're 81 years old, you've been flying for decades. I take it this is your first glacier landing.
That's right.
And I'm told, one of the passengers described it as soft as a pillow. You managed to make this landing perfectly. Tell me about landing on a glacier.
Well, the only way that I could land is to stall it onto the glacier. So it was still flying until it quits flying, and that's about 40 miles an hour. So we actually touched down at 40 miles an hour because we stalled it onto the glacier. But the glacier happened to have some sort of loose ice, so that the one wheel dug right in, and we stopped quite quickly, but not enough to hurt anything.
And so you ended up spending the night by yourself as your 2 younger colleagues went to find help, and obviously help came towards you. Snowmobilers found the plane and eventually found you guys. But I guess I want to finish with this. 4 decades or so of flying, maybe longer, a perfect landing under difficult conditions. And from what I understand, this is going to be your last landing.
I don't plan to fly anymore. You know, I don't really need to. I love flying, but I don't think I'll bother with it anymore.
Well, it's a nice way to finish. It's kind of like an athlete who finishes with a championship game. You stuck the perfect landing, everybody's safe and sound, and not a bad way to end a long amateur career as a pilot. Vern Hannah, thank you very much for speaking with us.
You're very welcome. Thanks for everything.